We're in Mallorca to test a new Fountaine-Pajot MY44. It's a brand new boat designed from the outset to be a power cat, and it runs on IPS. Now this boat with an on-water spec is about £850,000, which sounds a lot for a 44-footer, but you have to remember that you've got 3 cabins, 3 bathrooms and a master cabin that would shame many a 60-footer and loads of living space to play with. Let's have a closer look. Needless to say, you have a very large cockpit, but the real joy are the side decks on this boat. So big in fact that actually you almost want a grab rail here because you've got so much room to move around, so putting a rail up here would be useful. But in terms of moving around this boat, absolutely fantastic. And then you come up to the foredeck where Fountaine-Pajot has made the most of the living space. As you can see, you have this seating area here, very sociable, nice spot, especially in a berth like this where you're moored stern to the quay. You can come up here and away from prying eyes, and there's loads of storage up here as well. Not only in the forepeaks here, there's 2 hatches with full depth storage both sides of the hull, but you also have this massive area here where you've got your water tank, anchor chain, and yet more storage. The flybridge is another spot on the MY44 where you feel the boat's beam. There is so much space up here for you to wallow around in. Obviously the centrepiece is this enormous teak table with plenty of room around it. Not only these proper built-in seats, but there's room for freestanding chairs as well. You've got a little wet bar up here so you don't have to dash up and down to the galley, and of course the hardtop overhead with a manual sunroof in it too. One criticism would be the seating adjacent to the helm is set very low, so it's not particularly comfortable to use on passage. Perfectly good when the boat's stationary, but not very comfortable when the boat's going along. Well, because the IPS engines have their own hull, there is of course loads of space around them, so service access is fantastic. For daily jobs, even if you have more thorough work to do, it's superb, and you have great access to the IPS pod as well. The rest of the installation, pretty good. It's all neatly laid out, cables nice and clipped. You've got see-through bowls on the fuel filters, which is always nice. It's just a shame they didn't finish the top of the engine room in the same material that they did the bottom with. I've criticised other power cats I've tested, including Fountaine-Pajot's, for a lack of a feeling of space in the saloon. You have this big wide boat and somehow it doesn't transfer across, but that is not the case on this model. You can really feel the benefit of the width of this boat, especially as it opens out in this area here. You've got the big windows either side. Galley split across the beam here because you've got your counter and storage to starboard, and then to port you have more storage and a full height fridge freezer, which is really useful. And it's just lovely and bright. Nicely finished as well. It's not too fussy, but it's clean and modern, comfortable, looks really good. A couple of little quirky things though. The fact that the side windows, the opening side windows are aft of the helm, isn't great for ventilation or communication, but it is good to see that they've got blinds running all the way around these windows. So if people are sleeping in here, or if you want some privacy at night, you can enclose the entire area. And another neat little feature is this little section down here between the hulls. As standard, it's just a storage room, but like on this one, you can spec it with a bed for the odd occasion if you want to. So of course the main bulk of the accommodation is in the boat's hulls, and in the starboard hull is where you find the guest accommodation, which is interesting because forward you have a typical catamaran double cabin. You have the berth forward, good headroom, bit of storage in there, and it also uses this as its bathroom. It's not en suite, but it's close enough. But then aft, you have a sort of mini master cabin with an athwartship's bed. It's got its own ensuite with a separate shower. Really, really nice cabin, this one. And then, of course, in the port hull is where you find the master cabin, complete with its own access, a little lobby area with storage. Keep on walking through, you find this fantastic island bed, walk around with views out over the water if you're waking up in an anchorage. Loads and loads of headroom in here, not struggling for that at all. And you keep on going and you have twin hanging cupboards either side, massive storage space in here, and then keep going even further and you get to the ensuite with its own huge ensuite shower. You have to remind yourself that this is only a 44-foot boat in this cabin. Spectacular. So the MY44 was designed for Volvo Penta's IPS system, and that really shows in the driving experience. It works really nicely on this boat. I haven't tested many cats with IPS, so this has got the largest engine options available. That's IPS 600, but you can have IPS 500 and IPS 350 as well. Today we've got about 25 knots out of this boat, but it's got a very heavy spec on it. It's absolutely full of water as well. Fountaine-Pajot would hope to have closer to 30 in a slightly lighter boat, but You know, remember this is a power cat. It's for cruising 20 knots, feels really comfortable. And of course, if you throttle back to 7-8 knots, your range rockets up to about 1500 nautical miles. Now you may have pod drives, but in terms of the steering, it still feels very much like a power cat. To use a very overworn cliche, it feels like it's on rails, but it's a perfectly good way of describing it. Turns very steadily, tracks really nicely. I mean, it's a boat really that's going to spend most of its life on autopilot, but it does react nicely to the helm. On a day like this, it's not too rough. You've got a good, comfortable driving position up here. It's a very pleasant and relaxing boat to drive. So there you have it, there's the MY44, and it makes such a difference when a boat is designed from the outset to be a power cat. The way this thing hangs together and works as a motorboat is so much better than when yards just transform a sailing cat into a powerboat. Now, of course, the way it looks and the beam means it isn't going to be to everybody's taste, though if you can get over that, there is so much to like about the space on board, the amount of sleeping space, and just the room to breathe that you have on board this boat. For me, this is the best power cat Fountaine-Pajot has built to date.